Nothing beats a good scare at the cinema for lasting impressions. The best horror movies since the millennium, from current zombie apocalypses to retro slasher flicks. We will be looking for the best horror movies for this list. We would, however, exclude films that are overtly comedies or thrillers. Before we get into it, please do me a favor and smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button for notifications whenever a new video is published. Number 10. The Cabin in the Woods. Yes, this film sometimes feels more comedic than overtly horrific, but we would like to remind you that some solid scary moments. What earns this movie a spot on our list? However, it is how deftly it manages to subvert expectations. Is not that the hallmark of a great horror film? The Cabin in the Woods initially comes across like any old supernatural or slasher teen horror flick. The Cabin in the Woods appears to be a typical supernatural or slasher teen horror film at first glance. However, beneath this so-called cabin permit, an elaborate government conspiracy makes the entire thing sound like a few hundred separate movies competing for screen time, not just a brilliant love letter to the horror genre. It is messy, beautifully made, and simply a lot of fun. This zombie redneck torments families, and they are entirely different animals, like the elephant and the elephant seal. Number 9. The Witch Period Piece. It is difficult to make a horror film that gets under a viewer's skin. We must be able to relate to the environment as well as the experiences of the characters on the screen. It is fair to say that the majority of moviegoers are not from a 1630s farming family in New England. Despite this, director Robert Eggers has made a disturbing film, one that relies on ambient psychological dread and off-screen threats rather than cheap scares to make a film that is terrifying, captivating, and stunning all at the same time. And with Eggers' follow-up film, The Lighthouse, critics were similarly blown away. This young director seems poised to bring us quality horror films for decades to come. Number 8. A Quiet Place. Who knew John Krasinski, better known as Jim Halpert, had it in him? In the years since, he has proved to be very flexible, starting from the workplace. But none of his moves have been more shocking than his foray into horror filmmaking, which on a solid premise. The sound design is used masterfully in a world run by blind monsters that hunt to be a heightened sense of hearing, and mines it for all it is worth. Brian, you entered the world of filmmaking and made you fearful in the least. Make a pin drop, Krasinski and his cast, which includes his wife, Emily Blunt, give passionate performances that serve as the film's beating heart. You become attached to the Abbott family, which puts real and frightening stakes in the Babadook's game. Parenting can be alarming, especially when you are on your own. However, when raising a child while grieving the loss of a partner must be exhausting. His name is Mr. Public Cook, and this is his book, A Rumbling Sound, Then 3 Sharp Knocks. The central themes explored in Jennifer Kent, her remarkable horror film, which she wrote and directed. Essie Davis, who plays single mother Amelia Vanek, does an outstanding job capturing her character's intense fatigue. It is a reflective, provocative, and enormously human horror film with one of the most original and unconventionally frightening movie monsters in recent memory. The Exorcist producer William Friedkin went so far as to claim that he had never seen a terrifying film. Number 7. It. Adapting Stephen King's works is no easy task. 2017 It filmmaker Andy Muschietti, on the other hand, did the source material proudly. Bill Skarsgård was terrifying as Pennywise, the dancing clown, bringing the notorious dancing clown to life with a sinister flair and manic intensity. On the subject of jump scares, you have to hit the nail on the head. The film succeeds on the horror front without compromising, thanks in big part to Pennywise's looming sense of dread in Derry's town. The excellent performances of the young ensemble cast, however, elevate this horror film, and it is for that reason that we have included this film on our list. That clowns are still the stuff of nightmares, to be honest. Number 6. Happy Death Day. Who would have guessed that Groundhog Day's simple concept would translate so well to the horror genre? The thing is, with the time loop plot device in place, the filmmakers could have easily gotten away with just this premise. They did not, although the film was otherwise painfully predictable and uninspired. Happy Death Day is a smart end to a film that is not your run-of-the-mill teen gorefest. Isn't it a self-aware slasher who does a fantastic job of deconstructing the job? It feels like a spiritual successor to Scream in this way. There are a lot of laughs here, but they don't come at the expense of real scares. And while it might not be a perfect film, it scores bonus points for creativity. Number 5. It Follows. This decade has felt like a horror movie renaissance, particularly those focused on the misadventures of teenagers rather than exploitative slashers with flimsy plots. It Follows is one of the well-crafted and powerful entries we have seen so far. I never enter a building without at least 2 exits. It is taking a long time, so it is not over yet. There is always plenty of teen love to go around, but there are still more significant concerns about teen sexuality and STIs. It then goes on to be an impressively shot film with some imaginative wide-angle cinematography that pays homage to horror directors. The success of Micah Monroe in the lead role, like John Carpenter, elevated the film. Ultimately, It Follows is just a compelling horror film that operates on both a supernatural and psychological level, and it has a great story. Number 4. The Conjuring. We had seen an Insidious filmmaker since he unleashed but 2 big horror franchises on the planet. One of the best haunted house movies in decades was directed by James Wan. Unlike many of the films on our list, The Conjuring does not sound like it stretches the limits of the genre. It is, in truth, distinctly old school. What is it that makes it so valuable? It is, however, the attention to detail. It is a convincingly well-made and expertly paced film with well-developed characters we care about. Wan's ability to create suspense and then break it with frightening scares demonstrates his horror film expertise. In short, it is the ideal supernatural horror film, complete with great scares. Number 3. Hereditary. This movie is the kind of film that people praised and warned each other about at the same time. Hereditary is a supernatural and psychological horror film about a family plagued by their grandmother's death. But there is a lot more to it than that. It is not only terrifying to watch, but it is packed with memorable moments that will most certainly give you nightmares. It is not a pleasurable experience to watch. However, the film is undeniably a work of art, both narratively and visually. Hereditary will appear to be a more oriented film director. Midsommar, Ari Aster's 2019 follow-up, is equally successful and deserving of praise for managing to be so profoundly unsettling amid its brighter atmosphere. Number 2. Insidious. This film is one of the most frightening scary horror films in recent memory, and it is not suitable for younger teens or those with a low tolerance for jump scenes. There is some blood, as well as arguing and screaming, and the safety of a young boy is endangered in the film. For some children, the fact that he's separated from his parents may contribute to their anxiety. However, the majority of the horror comes in the form of the elements that make up nightmares: darkness, shadows, and noises. It is terrifying. So, I am sure I was not the only one at the office who was disappointed that Inherited was only our second choice and not our first. Is that a valid point of view? At this point, I am not sure what I'm going to do. Number 1. Get Out. A new wave of horror roaders is unmistakably making its mark on the genre. Jordan Peele, on the other hand, is arguably the most thrilling horror director working today. His status as one of the genre's most influential voices has been solidified by the release of his eagerly anticipated second film. It is, however, his directorial debut. In the strangest of forms, it was frightening. Get Out is a social commentary film that is both scathing and profound. It is especially good at bringing up liberal bigotry. Not only that, but Get Out is a well-made, expertly shot, and well-paced film. Add to that a haunting, ambient atmosphere and outstanding performances all over, and you have got a modern horror masterpiece. I mean, I told you not to go in the house, so what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with our best horror movies? What was your favorite horror movie? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications on our future content. With that being said, see you in the next one.